Sure, if you're not at this, what else are you going at? There's nothing better than going around the harbour having a yarn. Alright boys, welcome to episode 5 of the Harbour Yarn Podcast with myself, Harbour Customs, also known as Adam Hatter in many circles. Boys, you can get me on all of my socials. I'm on TikTok, mostly, but I'm also cross-posting on Instagram as regular as I can be, so you'll find me on two of them platforms. This podcast is living on YouTube right now, but I'm also starting to upload the audio to Spotify as well, so if you're someone like myself who enjoys throwing an old podcast on while you're driving from point A to point B, myself, mostly in the summertime when I'm going back and forth to Kitty Vitty on the old bike, loves throwing an old podcast on the Spotify. Shout out to the two Johnnies, because they're the ones who gets the most airtime in Big Red, going back and forth to St. John's. Alright boys, how did episode 3 and 4 get received? Because you're watching this now, 3 and 4 is out, but as I'm recording it, only 3 is out, 4 probably getting dropped in a couple of days' time. Episode 3 got received really well, boys. That was the first episode of the Harbour Yarn where we actually had a guest on in the Having All Yarn with us. We had Matt Collins on there. Matt is a realtor, but he also owns Rock Clothing Co. Boys, if you don't know who Matt is, go check him out. Solid fella. We had a dandy all yarn. We talked all about the world of real estate. That's very different from the world I'm from. His experience in it, how he got into it, and how he's getting along with it. And he also owns Rock Clothing Co. Matt started all that up, boys. There's usually a holiday pop-up. By the time you're seeing us now, Christmas is come and gone, but usually he pops it up there ahead of the Christmas season and bulk orders a lot of stuff in. So, boys, if you never heard of Rock Clothing Co., go over and give it a shout. Give him a follow on the socials there, because when you need to see it next year ahead of Christmas, it will pop up. And it'd be a great gift idea if you're looking for one. Future you now. In probably 10 months' time, I suppose, whenever he sees this, 10 or 11 months' time. It'd be a dandy old gift for you to find, right? And we talked about the gym that Newfoundland is, boys. He talked about a couple of his experiences of bringing people in that were from away and just how great of a spot it is we got. And he kind of wanted to put that through to Rock Clothing Co. And I think he did. Episode 4, boys, 'tis not out yet. This is Christmas Eve right now. Imagine that, Christmas Eve. Don't know when you'll be watching this. But hoping to get episode 4 out for Boxing Day for all the boys with a little hangover on the go. It'll be a nice little watch. Episode 4, boys, I have Feller Pine on. If you don't know who Feller Pine is, I always do say it when I'm on the old TikTok. You must be living under a rock, boys. He's a solid fella. I don't think you'd be able to find more positivity out of him if you walked right into a positivity factory. Very positive fella, boys. Wicked outlook on a lot of different stuff. And we had a dandy yarn. I'd say we were sat down for about 3 hours. Very condensed in the podcast and all that, but wicked all yarn, boys. Like you say, if you're not after hearing of him, check him out. He be on TikTok live every day. I think his live streak is well up over 300 now. I knows that. He must be closing in on a full year doing lives every single day. Don't matter what the weather is. Feller Pine do be out and under. So, boys, do go check him out if you're not after hearing him. Hopefully after watching the little yarn we had here on the podcast. And, boys, what I did with 2 of those, I recorded both of those last hitch home, and that gave me the whole hitch while I was offshore to work on them. It worked out really well, I must say, because I have a lot of downtime in the evenings when I'm off shift out offshore. I went face and eyes into editing the podcast, boys. Right now, this is pretty easy. Just one camera. Me and you. Very personal yarn, we'll say. When I had someone else on, with Matt, I had 2 cameras. Feller Pine, I had 3, even though, boys, and if you look at episode 4, that's another note on that. The lighting was absolutely terrible in episode 4. It was a nice day. We had fog for the bulk of my hitch last hitch, and when Feller Pine showed up to have yarn, the sun was actually out. So I said, check it. We'll move everything into the wife's restaurant there, have a nice little sunny backdrop. Boys, that Sony camera did not like the sunny backdrop. She kept me out of focus and in the dark much of the podcast. But, boys, we lives and we learns. This is only early days of all this podcasting bit for me, so every day is a school day. I do say that, and when it comes to this podcast, that is especially true, boys. Especially true. Little note on that. But it do work well while I'm offshore to actually edit all these while I'm out there and put it into a polished project to actually put out there to have a look. So I'm hoping to continue on with that kind of an upload schedule. You know, I'd love to put one out every week for you. The time is just not there to do it, boys, unfortunately. But if I can get a couple done and a set of days off, that'd be great. So if I'm putting them out every 2 or 3 weeks, I'd say you can look for the frequency of that. Like you say, I'd like to be doing more, boys, but the podcast is not paying the bills right now. The offshore racket is, so you kind of got to be into that for the time being. All right, so running on to the next segment of the running order of this episode 5 of the Harbour Yarn Podcast. Boys, what's on the go with me right now? Well, boys, I made it in from offshore. right in time for Christmas. On time and under budget, I do say. Never had a flick getting in. This was the first hitch I spent offshore back, the first full hitch, say, without being in Belfast. And I knew it was going to be a tough hitch, and boys, it was. The first week was not fun. When I got a taste of actually being able to get out in the evenings, even while I was at work, and not being confined to the boat, I got used to that life. I'm not going to lie, boys. And the first full hitch being back on the boat, yeah, boys, it was rough. There's no better way to put it other than that. It was rough trying to get back into the groove of it. But I will say, after a few days out there, we started to get the music room out to work back alive again. We had a couple of nice little sessions, boys. We got talented people offshore. I knows I haven't spent a whole lot of time on many other rigs, but I knows home and sea rows, depending on who's there, there's a lot of good musical talent. And we did have a couple of nice little sessions out there in the evening. And when we started doing that, boys, the hitch turned around. Because, I don't know, the mindset just changed a little bit for myself. And it was a welcome change, boys. And it made the rest of the hitch a lot easier. Still missing Belfast a lot, boys. I don't know if that's going to go away anytime soon. Probably not, when something leaves its mark on you like that city did. But, you know, we're getting back into the normalcy. We're getting back into the regular routine that is being offshore in Newfoundland. Otherwise, offshore, boys, I went hard at the Live Fest while I was out there this time. Tic Tac Live Fest was on the go in late November. We made it through the knockout round, the qualifiers, and we made it to the top 250. Now, after that, we started... I won't say we started fizzling out, but there's a lot of big creators with a lot of big followings that were on there much of the day. Myself, I could get on for a couple hours in the evening when I was off shift, so I was kind of limited to it by that. But you can't be on TikTok Live all day, boys. Not even when you're home, especially not when you're offshore. So a couple hours in the evening, it couldn't quite do, but boys, we had a lot of fun while we were at it. Met a lot of good people. There was a lot of regular people on the old lives. Haven't been at them so much as of late, because as soon as Live Fest started to wrap up, I went face and eyes into editing the podcast, boys. I had to edit episodes 3 and 4 and try to put them into a finished piece. And, boys, normally when I'm offshore, I goes to bed around 10:30. Boys, we pulled a couple of late evenings out there putting together episode 3 and episode 4. This was coupled all up with the fact, boys, that we're still kind of in a shutdown mode out there right now. And we're up, man. That means I had a roommate for me hitch. Not used to having a roommate, boys, and it's not an ideal situation. So, the podcast gave me something that I could kind of dive myself into and not focus on that. That was good. On the roommate side of things, boys, I have my buddy in there with me. He's a good fella, a good hand. You won't really get a murmur out of him at all. So I can't have no fault on him. But, boys, just when you got someone else in your own space and there's not a lot of personal space up for grabs, out on the rig when you're up, man, like that, it makes, sometimes a tough day a little bit more tough and a little bit more gritty. But like you say, boys, you do try to make the best of it, and hopefully it don't string on too long. As long as I got a podcast edit, I'd say I'll be all right, because I put a lot of my time into that. And like you say, boys, I did end up making it home on time. Boys, usually when you're trying to get in from offshore, anytime, 'tis tough. Especially this time of year, boys. It seems like all the factors tries to come together and trying to work against you in December month when you're trying to get home ahead of the holidays. But, boys, I got to say, we come in not a flick with the weather, not a flick with nothing, on the chopper, and back into Cougar and St. John's. Off we went onto the holidays. I was talking to my buddy there yesterday. He got in on Tibbs Eve. Same deal. Not a bad shot of weather out there. He hopped aboard the chopper yesterday and he dropped over, and I had a little yarn with him there yesterday. So no bit of a hang up. Dandy to see this time of year, boys, because I will say that's the exception, not the rule. Usually you're looking at a lot of backed up flights and a lot of delays when it comes to this time of year, so it's nice not to see that. And anyone who's trying to travel home today, being Christmas Eve and tomorrow Christmas Day, boys, I do wish you good luck. That's well past now. Hopefully you got in on time. To the boys travelling out, I know you're not hoping so well. I got a buddy that's travelling out to Hibernia today. What time is it now? It says 11 o'clock now, so I allow he's on the rig. I hope it's not treating you too bad, buddy, if you're watching this while you're out there. It's tough being away from home Christmas time, boys. There's no easy way to put it, but if you're away, I hope you're making the best of it, and I hope the hitch goes quick and you can get home quick as well. Not too quick, though, because if you're getting home, that means I'm going away. So you know it's no way. So I got home. Christmas shopping, boys. It's Christmas Eve right now. Was not done, ain't getting done. It is what it is. But I had myself fairly well set up before I went away. Anything I didn't, I did make arrangements to have done. So, boys, whatever I got now, 'tis all wrapped up under the tree, waiting for Santa Claus to come now for tomorrow morning. I have all the deliveries gone out to the boys every year. I got a couple of the boys now that we all grew up with. I always makes me deliveries gone to them. There's one fella waiting on his deliveries, but he's working in the onshore control room for Hebron doing a day shift, so I'm waiting for him to get off now this evening so I can toss a couple of gifts at him in through the door while he's enjoying his Christmas Eve there home with his family. Good gig, I got to say, boys, and Sheerr control room. That is, if you're working it, and if you're watching it out there with him now, not bad, boys, because I'm sure the boys in the Sheerr control room would like to go home at the end of the shift as well. Pros and cons to everything, though. The boys will tell you that for sure. It was a quiet Tibbs Eve for myself yesterday evening, boys. I must say, I was over to the wife's restaurant giving her a hand doing a little bit of takeout. Once we got all that finished up, we went home, put the little one to the bunk. I had a couple of Dominion to the house, boys. It was a quiet old Tibbs Eve. But, boys, the big thing that did happen on Tibbs Eve, I got me big order of hats come in. You can see I got a new one on my head now, boys. It says blue and copper. Oh, look at her, boy. I think she's pretty sharp looking myself. And apparently, all ye did too, because blue and copper sold out like that. If I had to know that, I would have ordered in all the blue and copper, because it is quite sharp looking. I didn't have a look at it till I unboxed it yesterday. But boys, we were waiting a long time for them. I think I ordered these sometime back in September. The first order got lost in the mail. The second order did come out then and got turned around at the border because the post strike was on the go. So then we got it back on the move again, and they finally did show up yesterday, boys. We got them in a couple of colorways, so if you're watching this now and you do want one, send us a DM over on TikTok. That's usually the one that I monitor most closely. So have a try on TikTok there, boys, if you are looking for one, and I'll see if I can get you sorted. I am shipping them Canada wide. I did put out a batch this morning on Christmas Eve of all the time. You know, call me Santa Claus myself. But one did go out to BC there this morning, boys, so if you're looking for one, you let us know, and I'll see if I can get you fixed up. And boys, aside from that, after I get all this put away now, it'll be Christmas Eve activities. We got a beautiful day here for Christmas Eve today. Cold. It is -7 or -8, which is fairly cold on the Avalon by any stretch. And a little dusting of flurries coming down. I'd say it's a beautiful day, boys. So going to take advantage of that when I get to clear here today. All right, boys, rolling into the next segment of this episode 5 of the Harbour Yarn Podcast, boys. The old write-in topic, where I was looking to ye, the viewers, to write in about a topic of the choosing. And last pod's topic, boys, the last one that we did on episode 4, was what do you like to do with your Sunday? And we did get a lot of feedback for that, boys. A lot of it was on the old TikTok video that I did on it. The big hitters, boys, was relaxing, Sunday dinner, and getting up in the woods. And boys, most people do plan their whole Sundays around their Sunday dinner. Super popular here in Newfoundland. Myself, it'd be fish cakes on Sunday morning with a cup of coffee, listen to 97.5 Homebrew with the family. Loves it. That's my staple on a Sunday morning when I'm home. Then brew off another thing of coffee and hop aboard Big Red there and dodge around the harbour and just see what's on the go. Whether it's a poor day or a good day, it is nice. That's just usually what my Sunday looks like. After that, it could be anything. And boys, if you'd like to let us know on how your Sunday looks, boys, still do write them in. Even though they're topics from podcast past, we can still cover them, boys. You write them in and we'll have a yarn about them, because that's what this is all about. Boys, this podcast topic, what I reached out with before I went offshore, which is probably 3 or 4 weeks ago now since I put that video out. Boys, Christmas trees. When do you put them up, and what one are you putting up? Now, boys, we got everything from putting them up right after Remembrance Day to I put them up Christmas Eve, and everywhere in between. We had a lot of write-ins, but there wasn't one size fits all for that. It was a wide all range. Myself, the tree went up just before I went offshore, because like I was saying earlier, when you're travelling in Christmas time, you don't know when you're actually going to get in. And I didn't want to be putting up the tree Christmas Eve, because, you know, the family wants to enjoy the tree too. So we put it up before I left. But the other question I had with it all too, boys, was do you go with an artificial one or a real one? A lot of people fed back on this one, boys. I got to say it was a little bit to the artificial side rather than the real one. That's just the feedback that we got. Myself, I'm going with an artificial one, but it's only at a necessity, boys, because like you say, I did have to put it up in the middle to the latter end of November. Trying to keep that thing alive then while I'm gone is a tough old task. So the artificial one have just been easier. I do like a real tree though, boys. The experience of going and getting a tree, especially here in Newfoundland, certainly, it is nice. And, you know, you can go and get one off a lot. That's fine dandy too, because you're getting a real tree. But actually getting out in the woods with the family and going and finding the tree that you want and setting it all up and decorating it, it's a nice personal experience, boys. And it's one I got a lot of memories of. Nostalgia, we'll say, when I was growing up. And I'm hoping to do the same thing here today, because we haven't had a real tree now since the little one have come along. I'd like to give her that experience all her own. Now to go out and pick out her tree and bring it home and dress her all up. 'Tis nice. I'm sure lots of you watching this now, if you grew up having a real tree, or certainly if you're still getting a real tree now, you knows exactly what I'm talking about. And if you do, boys, certainly write in and let us know. How does your Christmas tree selection go about? What does it look like your day in the woods? Now, you're going to have an ideal day, boys, for going and getting your Christmas tree. For me, the ideal day is more sun than overcast. a nice cold, crisp day, and no wind. If I can nail all that, I'd call that a pretty good day. Right now out there, this Christmas Eve, we got -7 or -8. Not really a draft of wind. Probably more overcast than some, but I mean, we'll take it. You're nailing probably 2.5 out of 3. That's not bad, boys. Not bad at all. But boys, certainly with all that, let us know. What's your ideal day for going getting a Christmas tree? What's your ideal Christmas tree? And how does the whole day look? Write it in, boys. We'll have a yarn about it. Loves having an old yarn. Now, moving on to the next topic that I'll do on the next episode of the Harbour Yarn podcast. Maybe record that next week sometime. The old in-between days of Christmas, boys. How do you spend them? Now, what am I talking about in-between days of Christmas? Well, boy, there are those old shagged up days, say, from Christmas Day, maybe on into New Year's Eve, where nobody really knows what day it is. You're just kind of meandering around. There's no real structure to them at all, boys, especially if you're off work. Sometimes you got family home and all that. You're kind of out of your routine or your element. How do you spend them, boys? Do you use them for rest, relaxation, just kind of take it all in and let it all pass on? Or do you always got to be in motion? Something like myself, I always likes being at something. I don't like being idle. So for myself, I enjoy being on the move, getting around, seeing friends and family where I can, when I can, and just continuing on with me normal activities I'll do through them. Some people, complete polar opposite of that. I know the World Juniors are a super popular one for some people. The World Juniors will take up all those old shagged up days of Christmas, and people follow them religiously. I enjoy watching scatter games. I will say I was more into it when I was in high school and all that. Don't much follow them now. If a game is on, I'll probably throw it on. That's about the long and short of it. But another thing that is on the go on those shagged up days of Christmas, as well as ahead of Christmas, but for myself it was always in the little interim, the mummering, boys. It was always a favourite activity of mine, somewhere in between, say, Boxing Day and New Year's Eve, that we'd get a bit of mummering on the go. I don't know if it'll happen this year or not, because most of my crew is working. But you never know, boys. I'd hope to get a little bit of mummering on the go, if it's not only over to my mother and father's and a couple less around. But at any rate, hopefully we can get a little bit of mummering on the go. Boys, that'll do up the whole topic for next week, boys. If you got any thoughts on that topic, the old shagged up days of Christmas, or any topic that we're after doing on a podcast previous, boys, do write them in. I loves having a yarn with you. Send them in via DM or the email, harbourcustomsnl@outlook.com. And boys, we'll have an all yarn about it. This is what this whole podcast is about, a yarn back and forth. So if you got your story at all that you'd like to share on any of these topics, boys, do write them in. I'd love to hear from you. Boys, rolling into the next segment. We're getting into a guest. I don't know what guest we're going to have right now, so hopefully I'll do a little cut clip and we'll have a guest. All right, boys, we're here today, episode 5 of the Harbour Yarn podcast. We got himself, Eddie Sheerr. Eddie, thanks for dropping up today. I do appreciate it.
Good to be here.
It's always hard trying to work everything into the schedule, so I always appreciate you making a run up the shore, right? Like, that easy.
It's a nice
all the way up Route 10. Right?
It's a nice scenic drive down.
It is,
or
up. Up. Well, yeah, south is up and north is down. Until he gets the Bay Bulls, then it's out. Right? There's a lot of lingo.
I'll figure it out one day.
So, to keep myself on the rails, boys, I got a running order just the same as I got on the Harbour Yarn, but I got a running order here to keep me out of the cabbage and out of the ditches. Eddie, how did you get into the meteorology?
That's a question a lot of people ask.
I would imagine, right? Well, it's like anything. Like, how did you get into what you're doing, hey?
Yeah, so it's generally with meteorologists, and it's a common thread for all of us. We have like an obsession with weather. It's not like something you just like fall into one day where you go to university and you're like, oh, like weather looks cool. I think I'll do that. Because it's real challenging. Like in Canada, it's a bit different, but in the U.S., like when you go to school for meteorology, like it's a ton of math, a ton of science and physics, and then the hard meteorology courses. So it's not something that you're going to get through unless you're motivated. And even going back to like when I was little, like my first recollection of watching like TV or watching like National Geographic videos about like lightning and tornadoes. And when I was growing up, I was in a couple of different big weather events that kind of like solidified my love for weather. The first was Hurricane Andrew in Florida.
Okay, yeah.
I was born in '84, so that was '92. I was 8. And we were down visiting my grandparents, who had a condo down there at the time. And up until, I think, Katrina, Andrew was one of the only Category 5s to make landfall in the U.S. I think there was 1 or 2 before that. Now, where we were, the damage wasn't super bad from what I recall. Some trees knocked down, power was out. But it wasn't catastrophic like you saw down. If you go, Google some of the images from Andrew down in like Miami-Dade County, it was like utter destruction. In fact, I think Florida changed all its like building laws after that.
That was like a big enough event that
Like the building laws in Florida now for new home construction they're way more stringent than they used to be. But I recall we evacuated from the coast. We went to this hotel. No idea where it was to this day. But I do remember the storm hit in the middle of the night and just the wind sounded like a freight train, like outside the hotel room. There was a big like I guess like a picture.
A picture window. I always call it a bay window.
Yeah, like a big. And I remember that just going boom, 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 boom.
Just flexing.
Just flexing like all night with the wind. And everything ended up being fine where we were, but it's just a memory that has stuck like in my head.
It stood out to you.
Yeah,
and if something stands out to you so long like that, it means something to you.
It does. It's a core memory, and it's generally it's a good memory for me. And then a couple of years later, in 1996, we had the blizzard of '96, which so I grew up in the States, outside of Philadelphia, and this was a blizzard that was probably similar in snow depth to like Snowmageddon. We got 3 feet of snow, about a meter of snow, and it was like the coolest thing I'd ever experienced. Right, school was out for a week. We were walking in snow, it was up to my waist. It was like a very, very kind of cool experience to go through as a kid. And then every winter after that, I thought we were going to have the same like type thing. We didn't.
No. It's terrible when there's like, okay, this is going to be the norm.
No, it was not the norm. And like there were winters where it didn't snow. And then after that, I kind of became more obsessed with snow for some reason. And then I got to high school, and I still wasn't sure what I wanted to do. I think I wanted to do meteorology, but I wasn't sure. And I ended up meeting some of the meteorologists who work for the television station down in NBC in Philadelphia. And I got a tour of their broadcast facility, which is massive. And I watched one of the guys do the weather. His name's John Bolaris. And I was like, that's what I want to do.
That was I
was like, I want to do that.
You knew then.
Yeah. I was like, I'm going to do that. And I think I was in grade 10 or grade 11. And then I started giving out like snowfall forecasts like to my classes in high school. I think my grade 12 year, and started to kind of learn a little bit about weather before I went to university. But I went to university with the sole goal in mind to like basically get through my 4 years, no matter what it took, and then start in TV.
That was the path that you went.
Yeah. So I was motivated, and like I was not a great student in high school. Like if I liked the course,
fine enough.
A's, B's. If I didn't like the course, like couldn't get through it. Like D was for done.
Okay, they didn't have your interest.
No. Yeah, so like I was just diagnosed with ADHD, and apparently that's like a telltale sign. It's like if I'm into it, I'm like, all right,
we're in, we're locked.
I'm right in, right. And if I'm not, I'm like, oh, the ceiling's nice and green.
Okay, get me back to the ones. Yeah.
Right. And so like when I got to university, I knew like I had to get through classes I didn't even like to get done in the 4 years.
They were your stepping stones.
Right. Yeah. Because I didn't want to be there for 5 or 6 years. Right?
No. You knew where you had to get to. You just had to get through it to get to it.
Yeah, exactly. And there was like, chemistry. I was not good at chemistry, but I got through it. Physics, I was okay at physics. Not so much physics. Physics 1, yes. Physics 2, which was a lot of electrical. Don't trust me to wire anything up.
It starts getting pretty abstract.
It gets a bit challenging there. My teacher for Physics 2 wasn't as good as the teacher I had for Physics 1. But the meteorology stuff I really took to, and I didn't have an issue like learning some of that. The math behind it, yes. But
it's the same, like we went into instrumentation. Instrumentation, pressure, temperature, level, flow, anything that controls something. That's what I'm into.
Right.
Fine enough. I get in second year instrumentation. I'm learning about third and fourth order not quadratics. I don't even know what they were called now.
Like multivariate. It's like multivariable calculus.
Yes,
and it's
high level math. And I'm like, boy, I can do it.
Right.
But it takes a lot of effort for me to do it. And I can do well at it. But again, it sucks up a lot of effort. I'm like, why am I doing? And then he gets out at it like, yes, but go hook up the transmitter.
Right.
Hold on, now I haul out my math.
Let me figure this out. Make sure it's right.
Right. And then, but like and at the time, especially like you say yourself, because before you got into it, you researched enough about it, you knew a nice bit about it. You're saying, where is this application?
Yeah.
What are we doing with it? And to me, that made it more difficult.
Well, that's the thing. So when you're going through, when you're doing a meteorology program in university, at least in the States, I don't know exactly how it's done in Canada because I can't speak for it.
No, that's right.
But you have what you call synoptic meteorology classes and your dynamic classes. So synoptic, like you're literally looking at like weather charts, right? You're like, okay, this is surface pressure. This is winds at 5,000 feet. These are the winds at 30,000 feet. This is how the weather at 30,000 feet interface with the weather at the surface. And I'm like, okay, this is like comes easy, right?
Yep.
Once it's locked in. the dynamic stuff was like an equation that would take up like a whole board, and like some of the parts of the equation I understood, and some I was like, I don't know, don't know that one, don't know. And I would just memorize how to basically derive these equations to get through the tests. And I ended up just to get past it. And like, C's were okay in some of those courses, and some of the other courses were, where I used the synoptic stuff on the daily. Those were all the things I excelled in.
Yes.
The math behind it, which is what the computer modeling uses, that's not my forte. And some meteorologists are really good at the modeling, and the synoptic stuff is not their forte, and some are vice versa, right? We're all specialized in different things.
The modeling still had to be done, and like different strokes for different folks. Right. I suppose the easiest thing to put it down to with that, because like you say, the theory had to come to it for somewhere, and in order for it to progress the theory, someone's still got to work at the theory.
Right.
But like you say,
it's tough.
It is tough, and you got to be a special kind of person to say, okay, this is what I enjoy, and fine enough. But it's just the daily applications of it. I know it's for me and what I do, it's just not there. Right? Like if I was teaching it, perhaps yes, but
and that's it. Like I don't need that on a daily basis.
No,
and I won't need it on a daily basis, but some people will.
That's their deal.
So I got through all that, and then I got my first job in television in Macon, Georgia, which was back in 2007, and it was for a Fox affiliate, not a Fox owned. So in Canada, right, you have like. Basically, other than like NTV and a couple independent stations, everything's like CBC, CTV, or Global.
Yep.
Right. In the States, it's like there's 200 television markets, and just because you're a Fox affiliate doesn't mean you're owned by Fox. Right. That could be owned by one person. It could be owned by a corporation. In this case, I think it was owned by a small corporation who had a few other television stations. So I started there at a Fox affiliate station in Macon. I was there for 2 years, and then I got down there, and I was ready to be done in Macon. Georgia was great, but I was ready to leave Georgia when it was right.
Changes goes the rest.
And I ended up having a friend of mine who I was at university with working out at a station in Grand Junction, Colorado. And so I moved out there in 2009, and I was there from 2009 to 13, and then I moved to Newfoundland in 13, and I've been in Newfoundland ever since. Yeah.
Wild.
To do weather here.
Yes.
And through the jigs and the reels, as they say. One of the guys I went to university with was also working for a company up here that before I started doing the weather at NTV, they were providing the forecast for NTV.
Oh, okay,
so NTV was asking, it was AMEC, now it's WSP.
Yes.
If they knew anybody, and he reached out to me, and I was like, he's like, you ever hear of Newfoundland? And I was like, yeah. He's like, you ever hear of St. John's? I was like, no. He's like, well, there's a television station here called NTV looking for meteorologists. Are you interested? And I was like, if they fly me up, I'll have a look. I'll let you know. Let's do an interview. And I came up. It was May, and I've learned in my 11 years, May is oftentimes not a great month in town.
May, I will never tell. Well, actually, I shouldn't say that. Right. I shouldn't say I'll never tell people to come here in May.
Right.
But May is a sketchy time.
May's not a good month. Like Newfoundland is beautiful from like June 10th to like generally some point in October or November. Even the fall here is okay, except this fall was not. I came up in May.
Caveat.
Yeah, I came up in May, and it was like 20 degrees, blue sky, breezy. They took me up to Signal Hill, took me to Cape Spear. I was like, this place is beautiful. Like it reminded me almost like of California, except the weather's not quite as nice as I've come to find out. But California is very similar in the stark difference between the ocean and the shoreline. There's no other place in this side of North America that has like 600-foot cliffs next to the ocean. It just does not exist once you get southwestern Newfoundland. It's not there. And unbelievably gorgeous. Like I'm still awestruck by the beauty of Newfoundland and Labrador. Every day, even when I go down to Middle Cove Beach, which I've been, 100 times.
But every time
it's a little different. Yep. And so it's beautiful. And so I came in, I was like, you know what? I'll try it. I think I came back in June to find a place to live. Same thing. Beautiful. Moved here in August. I think I got off the ferry in like late August, early September. We landed in Argentia, and it was like cloudy and cool. And I was like, oh, okay. Well, and my first winter was 2013. It was very snowy. And I had never dealt with that kind of snow before. And I liked snow before I moved to Newfoundland. So don't love it as much as I used to.
Well, it's the type that we're getting that's killing us now. That is the segue. That's insane.
Yeah.
What a wicked.
So 2013, and I've been here since 2013. Met my future wife in 2015. We got married in 2016. Now we have two beautiful girls, 5 and 3, and 2024.
Man, oh man,
along. Yeah.
That I wasn't expecting that answer.
Yeah.
Right? Like, it just because that was fluid. That's a fluid, nice.
I've been asked a few times now.
That's no, but like just
Yeah.
the journey of it.
Yeah.
Right, that it happened like that. Like
It did.
Before I went to Sheerr, I stayed anywhere a year. Because half of that was because a lot of it was project based. So like I worked till the end of the project, I go to a new project. It's just a generality of the work. But another part of it, because I've been in lots of full time positions too, I'd stay there so long I figured I harvested what I needed, or I learned enough what I needed. I was looking for a new challenge, and I found that happened to me a lot. And I went to Sheerr. I went out there for a week 10 years ago. Still there, boy. It's home now. Sheerr's been home that
There you
long.
go.
But again, fluid and just
Right.
the happenstance of it that I happened to take a call there for a week. Like you say, you knew someone that was working up there and they just happened to think on you, right?
It's weird how those coincidences happen.
But and like you say, you build a life on that, right? It's wild how sometimes it works out. But like when I hear stories like that, I think back to my own,
Right.
and just how nice it all came to be and how nice it all do work out. And I don't know, it's great to hear stories like that.
You must see some wicked weather offshore. Not
They had a bad day yesterday.
I would say.
They had a
I
bad day
know.
yesterday.
So I people always ask, like not always, but I get a lot of requests to talk about the weather offshore,
Yes.
and I generally don't.
Yep.
And the reason being is people like yourself, people who work on the rigs. I've heard multiple times that they'd rather I don't.
A lot of people
Right.
don't, and some
Right.
people and their families don't. Because
Right.
a lot of people just don't like hearing about it. We
Right.
got fellows that are out to work when they call in, they won't say anything about it. Just
Right.
say, "Oh yeah, it's a rough day," and that's about as far as
Right.
it goes. Me and my clan, like my father's worked offshore on
Right.
Turnover since 2000, I think, when she was in Bull Arm. He went over there, and he just retired last year. I've been at it on and off offshore since 2011, so I've been at it a long time. We know it's the rigmarole of it. It is what it is. So to us, it's like water off ducks back. The weather is going to be what the weather is going to be.
Yeah.
We're built to ride it out, and we'll ride it out. But some people just don't like hearing about it.
Yeah.
And it is true. They'd
Well,
rather not.
There's
right?
no like I've never been offshore. Like I've been on boats, but I haven't been like on an offshore Newfoundland
Yep.
Labrador boat. And so it's the reference point that you have, right, is very different from the reference point that I have. So if I'm looking at the yesterday offshore, for instance, 2 miles outside of St. John's, there was 50-foot max waves.
Yep.
Right. That to me sounds like those are big.
That's a lot. Yeah.
Right, that's
a big
lot,
sea.
right? Now that's max, so there's significant wave
that's-
heights like roughly half that.
Yep.
So you're not every wave's 50 foot tall. But I've seen bigger. I've heard bigger.
Oh, yeah.
And so that must like that. To you, I don't know if 50 feet is like scary or 50 feet's just
it's a 50-foot roller coming
Yeah.
along, but you know it.
Yeah.
Right? Like the reference point I use is you'll get out there 2, 3, 4 meter sea on a regular day, like,
Right.
especially in the fall. Oh yeah, like a little clip on the day, you'll
Right.
say, coming over the top. 6 meters we stop flying.
Right.
So 6 meter significant height. Cougar stops flying. This is whatever wave rider on our path.
they can't land when the ship's pitching like that.
No, not there's all kinds of different. There's a million different variables.
Right.
So like.
I got a tour of the Cougar facility actually.
It is. They got a state of the art
That's
facility. out there.
some facility.
We'll stand tip to toe with anyone in the world.
It's
in terms of
actually
flying.
amazing.
Now Norway's pretty good, but
Yeah.
Hibernian Hebron, well, they don't move because
Right.
they're concrete
Yep.
down. So their cutoff is going to be 6 meters for the significant height on the way out. Because Cougar says that if we got to ditch a chopper
Right.
after 6 meters, it's going to be quite difficult. Even at 6 meters, it's going to be quite difficult to try to keep her upright and get everyone off. So 6 meters, safety cutoff. For pitch and roll, sea rolls, she pitches and rolls a lot, especially if we got good sea on. So for us, pitch and roll, I shouldn't say pitch and roll, but heave we call it.
Right.
How much the boat is heaving, which is how much the heli deck is moving up and down. 7 meters is our cutoff.
That's
so
actually
she can.
Right.
But you'll have a 3 meter significant day where the heli deck is moving 11 meters.
Right.
It's just sometimes you'll get we'll call it a confused sea.
Right.
She'll roll a lot. Wind is going one way, so we tend to weather vane into the wind, but the sea is going
Right.
90 degrees opposite.
Yeah, the swell's different from the wind wave.
She starts rolling.
Right.
Good. And you, like you say, you could have a forecast day or say, oh yeah, no trouble getting home now tomorrow, and tomorrow will come and the sea will be side on, and you'll be all over the place bottom up.
Right.
So that's our limit for movement there. But yeah, you look out 6 meter sea, like, oh yeah, good little sea on today. You'll get a storm roll through, like yesterday. Like, oh yeah, you got some good rollers.
14 meter sustained.
Big.
Yeah.
That's a big sea on there. The big storm, like I've been out there in, I think the biggest I've seen out there was like 27 meter max. I've been out there for.
I heard that was there was a storm.
2018 was the big
yeah.
one.
There was one where I think that was
31 meter max was
That's-
what we saw that day.
that's
on
over
Sea
100
Rolls.
feet.
That was a big wave.
Right, 31 meters is what? No, it's like almost 100 feet.
It's every, yes.
Yeah.
Usually I'd put 3 foot to a meter.
Yeah,
so
it's,
right or not, boys. I think it's a
close,
little
like
bit
90
more.
something feet.
Yeah, it's a lot.
So like me as an American, I'm always like the metric height. I can't do height metric.
No?
No, I cannot.
I can't do temperature,
Right.
and I should be able to do it because I'm instrument
Right.
big, but
I can do temperature either way.
Yeah.
I can do wind mostly, except when it gets really high, I kind of have to back convert. But like height, I gotta like 3 or 4 meters. I'm like, okay, that's 12 feet. Like I gotta go back to like yards and feet.
Yep.
I have to, or I can't picture it.
Yeah, it's wild.
Yeah,
The brain is
That's a big wave.
wired up like
Yeah.
that. I think 27 was what I was out for. That one, that was on a Wednesday. I flew home on Tuesday, so I got in just ahead before
Right.
the sea started spiking up. Chopper came, picked
Right.
Adam up, on home. The boys got stuck out
Yeah.
in the storm. And 31 meter, I think max was what they see that day. That's massive.
That's big.
That is massive. Yeah. I think that was the one that shook up. There was a big one that rocked Hebron.
I
a
heard.
nice bit too.
Yeah, I
she
heard
was,
that was.
you know,
she
it's
felt
concrete
it.
base, but
Yeah.
they still do move.
Yeah, they move,
not a lot,
yeah.
but they do.
I heard that.
She flexes, yeah.
Yeah.
And it was big.
Yeah.
That when you get a big sea, you knows it. I mean,
Yeah.
and if you sees a weather, because we're looking at, well, not we, but the company's looking at the weather forecast as they come up. We're predicting long way out. Ice is usually a huge one.
Right.
But the weather coming up too, we're looking at days and events, so we got checklists that we'll do ahead of time. So if we see the sea coming up like that, it's usually a heavy weather checklist that's coming out. We're making sure everything is battened down. Nothing is going to be rolling around here because we are going to experience a lot of vessel motion, and you're getting ready for it. So
Do you guys look at the swell period? Does that make that's something you look
sometimes
at? Yeah.
more for choppers because if you've got a long lazy swell, it tends to make her roll
Right.
a lot longer.
Right.
And a shorter one, she'll take it a little bit more.
Right.
Almost like you'll feel a little bit more shaken out of her.
But not the long period has a lot of power in those.
Yeah. She'll move
Yeah.
her then, right? Especially if you're hitting side on. When we comes nose on to it, like, and when we mostly do, especially when you get those big weather events, she'll go nose on to it and she'll ride with the best. I know when I was out there for the high 20s, the boys were out there that day with 30 plus.
Yeah.
And she rode that like a champ.
Right.
We'll have days when you could have 3 or 4 meters significant that you would call rougher than that just because we're taking them side on.
Right, because you're getting
You'll get a lot more
of that.
movement, like stuff is rolling off
Right.
discs and
Instead of
stuff like
going
that.
like-
Whereas we're going like that.
Right.
I've been laid down in my bunk, and like I lie, the way my bunk is, I lie down fore aft.
Right.
So my head is to the aft, and I'll just feel her go up, and I'll feel her go down. You'll feel your body lift up, and you'll feel your body lift down, and it puts you to sleep. Perfect, right? But the days where it might be less significant,
Right.
but more rolled, you'll feel them. They'll feel a lot more pronounced.
Right.
We'll say.
You don't get seasick.
No, I've.
That's always something I wanted to ask. Now I'm flipping the tables on your podcast. I'm asking you other
I always
questions.
open that because that's the best part of yarn.
Yeah.
Yarn can't be one way. No, I like knock on wood
Yeah.
because anyone can. It has a lot to do with your inner ear, and I think as you get older now, that'll probably change too.
Right.
But out on
Yeah.
zeros, like we see some people, you'll get affected by the motion of it and all that, but we're not. We're not like I looks at the supply boat some days. Says,
Yeah.
Jesus, how did the boys do it? Because you're out for might be jogging along for us for 2 weeks solid, and you might get 2 weeks of poor weather.
Right.
Not every day is bad, but like a lot of days you're rolling around pitching, they're just dodging around. They might have to come in for cargo and all that.
Right.
Like that's hard because we're not moving near so much. Like we can go around do our work.
Right, but you're not like
We're no like
Yeah.
I might feel it walking up the tunnel that I'm moving a little bit,
Right.
but beyond that, that's about it. Like
Right.
these big weather events come up,
it's
they're going to pass generally in 24 to 36
Right.
hours, and after that. Trouble to say you're on a boat. For me, like I've been on her so long, other people will
just
probably
used
tell
to
you
it.
different, but
Yeah.
like that's my little bit on that. We cover what brought you here. Obviously, you're married with the young ones now.
Yep.
What stood out to you to say, like I can make this place home for now?
when I met my wife.
When you met your wife,
Yeah,
that was
I had been here. I moved here in 2013. 2015 came along. I think I was like just turned 30, and I hadn't met any. I wasn't like in a long-term relationship, and I was like, geez, I'm 30. I got like I'm not dating anybody.
Nope.
Like I got nothing tying me here. Like maybe it's time to just try something different. And this was I think in like February maybe because I called up a buddy of mine. I was like, yeah, I think I'm gonna be done.
Yep.
I'm gonna come back. I don't know what I'm gonna do, but I'll figure it out. Like 3 weeks later, I met Susan, and
There's history.
That's it, right?
Wild back.
Yeah. So Susan, good thing I met Susan, because now I'm here.
Now you're here.
And and then we got married, and we met in 2015. We got engaged. We met in March 2015. Got engaged, December 2015. We got married in December of 16. So kind of quick.
Yep.
But we were both kind of ready.
That's the point. But
Yeah.
and when you're at that stage in your life,
Yeah.
and when you meet someone and you're sure of that, the time is of no relevance then.
Yeah, it was like
Whatever's-
what? Let's just
Yeah,
You know,
because, like
I was. There's no hesitation. So like, we got engaged, we got married, and then I think we were married for a couple of years, and then we had our first daughter.
Yep.
And that was in 2019, and then we had our second child in 2021, and now I got a 5-year-old and a 3-year-old, and you know, feels like 20 minutes ago they were both newborns.
Right?
Yeah.
And we're still on the Avalon.
I know. Still on the Avalon.
Jessica's from Churchill Falls.
Right.
So I went up there working for a year, and me and her mate, and like I say, a fella from Witless Bay got me hooks in, yeah. Because she come down, like, she is from Central Labrador. It's quite small, very small town in Churchill. You know, like, she went to school, so she didn't really know what life had in store for her. Rural Newfoundland is not what was on the top of her list, I don't think. So she came back to Witless Bay. This was all new and fresh, and, like, obviously the beauty of the spot. But, you know, it's different. She hated Irish music when she came down here, absolutely. And me, probably the biggest promoter I ever could be of Newfoundland Irish music.
Right.
But now, she'd be down in the kitchen on Sunday morning, Homer was on, and she's tapping and dancing along just with Isla. The same thing, right? It's become...
That's beautiful, though. Yeah.
It really is.
Well, I'm in the same boat. Like, I never pegged myself. You know, I never thought I'd be, like, living, you know, in Newfoundland, Labrador, you know, thousands of miles from home, and, you know, just happy as lark, as they say.
Just where else are you going that got the raw beauty that this spot got?
Well,
I've walked Ireland, and, like,
Yeah.
I've walked the Cliffs of Moher, and, like, Cliffs of Moher is beautiful, yes. But I've walked the East Coast Trail from Witless Bay to Mobile, too, and no doubt it's home, I'm biased. But... get it on a nice day. I said that only a couple of weeks ago or a couple of hitches ago. Get it on a poor day.
It's still nice.
And it's still nice. Get yourself up there in the mist and listen to the water hitting the rocks.
There's nothing like it.
No.
But the phrase about Newfoundland and Labrador that I've heard, when it's nice, it's nice. Right? And that's like using like the term like some.
Yep.
Right? Like someday out. Right? Like if you're not living in Newfoundland, Labrador, like you don't really know what that means. But that means like if you're watching from away, like it's a really nice day. We say like when it's nice, it's nice. Right? Like when it's nice, it's beautiful. And even when it's not. But like you're just talking about one area.
Yep.
Right? Tiny sliver.
Such.
Right?
I know.
The when you can walk, even like when I can go, I live in Torbay, and I can go in Motion Drive in Torbay and walk between Motion Drive and Middle Cove. Like you'll be up there. It could be a beautiful summer. You might only see two or three people, and you're just looking out at these, you know, looking at all the big cliffs, looking up towards like, you know, Flat Rock, looking down towards basically like Logie Bay, and it's just like it's awe-inspiring. But again, one spot, right? Go to Long Point in Twillingate. That place that'll blow your mind.
I've never been to Twillingate. You imagine that?
Long Point Lighthouse. The view from the Long Point Lighthouse in Twillingate is unbelievable. Fogo Island. Like, but then you go to the West Coast, and the West Coast is different altogether.
Terrain completely changes.
It's actually more like, you know, the mountains on the West Coast. When you go through Grossmorn, it looks like a different world. And you go like on a nice day, you can go up to like Shallow Bay, which is up past Cowhead. Beautiful, beautiful beach. And you got the Cadre Valley down in like southwestern Newfoundland, one of the most beautiful places I think I've ever seen. Right, you're looking out at the Gulf of St. Lawrence and Sandy Beach, and behind you got, you know,
these huge
1,500 foot like long range mountains where the wreck house is. And the South Coast, Harbour Breton. Have you ever been down there?
No.
I'm convinced the South Coast probably has some of the most beautiful views in the province.
Yes, boy.
And I haven't been up to coastal Labrador yet.
Right. And I always says that, like, I tries to be the biggest supporter I can, and people come to Newfoundland, seeing Newfoundland, but I myself haven't been to half of it.
Right.
Because I'm years now saying I got to get up to Twillingate because it is so. I just want to get up there and see it.
I've seen a lot. Like we do a lot of camping in the summer. We have friends. We have a trailer. It's more like glamping, you know, with the air conditioning and heating and stuff. So we're not like, you know,
comfortable camping.
Yeah, it's comfortable camping. I'm not. I'm too delicate to be attentive, and I'll admit it. But and we go around the the island. Generally, we do a couple trips in the summer, and you know we've been to Terra Nova, and we'll go explore like all the areas around Terra Nova, and we did the same thing. We were up in Grossmore National Park, and you know got to just drive around, and just drive around. You see so much of this island that you otherwise wouldn't see, and it's just so many beautiful these tucked away spots that are beautiful. Salvage, like up on just past Eastport.
Yep,
unbelievable spot. There's a house there I'd love to buy. I forget what the name. I marked the address down on my phone.
Yep.
And the view from this home is like just looking straight out, like at the beautiful cliffs. Happy Adventure, beautiful tucked away little harbor. Nice little in there too, a good restaurant. And then you go up past Lewisport. I forget what the name is past Lewisport. Embry, I think.
Yep.
And you go up to Embry, like when the road just stops in Embry. Beautiful. Like, and you're just looking out at these cliffs, and then Kings Point. up near Springdale.
Yep.
Like just on that part of the island's also really cool. The Bay Vert Peninsula.
Yep.
Mountains, big hills up there too.
It is, but
Yeah.
but like so much of it, so much varied.
Yeah.
So hard to travel it all, and so
yeah.
hard to see it all. But when
impossible.
you do, especially if you're coming here visiting or
Yeah.
anything like that, like when you get these little snippets of what this is, and then couple that with the people.
Oh man.
Because you stop off and there's a common trade. We might all sound different all around the island, but just the friendliness of most people.
Yeah.
Because you can stop off in Rocky Harbour, or
yeah.
you can stop off in Twillingate, and someone will come off alongside you, like you might be stopped on the side of the road someday, you know. Just it's little conversations like that, and when you get to meet a couple of people from, I found it much the same in Ireland too.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Here just holds a special little place that it's still held on.
It's
right?
different. And
Yeah,
in
it is.
Newfoundland,
That's the
right?
only really way you can describe it. It's just plain different.
To me, it feels almost like I won't say a secret, but it's kind of like our own little place.
Yep.
Where like if you're not, people, there's not a big population. People who live here generally do like it. We complain about the weather a lot, but we do
We'll
like
find
it.
it. We'll find a complaint in anything.
But like it's almost like I don't want to say stepping back in time, but like it almost is because you can go and we go to all these different places and it's safe. And like the kids, you can let your kids be kids and have a whole lot of worries about it. Not everywhere, but depending upon where you are.
But the bulk of it, right?
Right,
Like,
right.
yeah.
And it's a nice like throwback to I think what like kind of I remember like growing up.
Yes.
Right.
Yep.
Where we just had a bit of freedom.
Couple all together is a pretty good package.
It is.
It's a pretty good package.
And now tourism can take that now.
Yeah, I gotta reach out to them. I'm doing too much. That's what I said. The boys put that new flight from WestJet back on. I said, boys, I got to get me a trip over to Dublin or something. I said, I'll do your media. Just put me over so I can get to St. Anne's Park and see the two Johnnies.
I want to do that. I want to do Dublin. I want to do Paris. And I've never been to Europe.
Jessica was saying the same thing.
Yeah.
And like I'm stuck on art. Like I met so many people when I was up in Belfast.
Yeah.
I got a lot of really good friends up there now from my time that was over there. So I just wanted to get back and see them.
Right.
But it opens up so many doors. And have you traveled like over in Ireland?
I
Like,
have not been. I've never been to Europe. We're across the Atlantic.
Oh Jesus, take advantage of that because I'm gonna tell you like
got to.
I loved Ireland,
Right.
But I got a strong connection to it, but like just awesome.
I've heard that.
Oh boy, it is so much like Newfoundland. Like it's so much like Newfoundland, but different all at the same time.
Well, it's funny to hear, like yourself, who your accent's not exactly non-existent.
No,
Right? Like, I meet some Newfoundlanders.
I don't know how he picked it up.
Right? Who sound, not too distant
No.
from me.
Yeah, that's right.
But I go home and my parents are like you.
You're after taking on.
Yeah. Like,
Yep.
what do you like? I don't. And I have to change some of the structure of my sentences when I go home.
Yep.
Just because I'll say something like, "What are you at?"
Yep.
I'm like, what?
That's because the slang.
Right?
I always said the speed and the slang.
Yeah. Or what's the there's a few phrases like I use like frequently with especially Susan.
Do you find it's hard to bring them up? Like I find it's hard to think about the phrases until I say them.
I do.
And then I'll put myself in a
Right.
I find if I'm trying to describe something to someone,
Right.
and I'll use one word to describe another word, and two of them are nothing that they would know.
Right.
Because I'm using slang to describe slang.
I think one of the phrases in Newfoundland is, and I've confused people actually. It's so if you have a computer there, or how do you find it? How do you find your computer? Like that. What that means, like, how do you like it, right? And I think I asked somebody like, how do you find that? And they're like, I found it. Like
It's right there.
Yeah. Like no. What I mean is like what do you think of it? Like what do you? And it's that kind of like those are seems more I think connected with like how Ireland speaks. I think from listening to
some of it comes across like that, and like. Much like us, how we varies as we go around the island. You don't have to go shag out for the accent or dialect to change. They're the same way.
Yeah.
Now to hear someone, if you're not familiar with it, it might sound just like a bit of a different take to it. But like county to county or different spots on the coast, completely different.
Right.
Like talk to someone up in Belfast, talk to someone in Galway, talk to someone in Cork, talk to someone in Wexford, all different.
Yeah, I generally understand most Newfoundlanders and Labradors pretty well now. First, y'all talk so fast that I have, my brain had to speed up. But there are some places where I find the accent like really thick. Like up around Twillingate here, we speak to somebody who's from there.
Yep.
The accent like is hard. Now I say that now. But I think the first time I was up there was probably 2014, so I was probably still pretty like green to Newfoundlandese.
Yep.
So maybe now if I went back, I wouldn't have such an issue.
100%.
Right? But
it do be hard.
Yeah.
Like and even like especially when the dialect changes, it could change. And again, throw some slang into it too, and the speed.
Right.
Merge all that together by like
every so often I hear a new word. I'm like, what?
Yep.
What's that?
Just come again, Adam, right? Like,
What does that mean? Yeah.
For you, obviously, you're living there on the Avalon.
Yep.
What would you describe as your best weather day on the Avalon? Hey, even time of year we're going to throw it in.
Yeah.
And the worst one.
Best one, it's, 25, 26 degrees, little breeze, keep the flies down.
That's right.
Sun and cloud, perfect.
That's your day.
In a night, and if it's humid, I'm all right with that.
Yep.
And it keeps temperature up a little bit at night. Because I like nice warm nights.
Yep.
We don't get a lot of those like in Newfoundland. Like warm nights are like, we go camping a lot in the summer. And like when it stays warm at night, like you very, very few nights where you're like not out by the fire and like in a hoodie, even in the middle of July. So like nice day, mild night, perfect.
And they stands out to you.
Right, yeah.
Like we always used to call them harbour terror nights because nights like that when I was young, we'd be roaming around the harbour.
We had a couple of summer actually. We were camping up in Notre Dame Provincial Park. It was like 30 degrees. Like we were there for like 5 days. It was 30 degrees every day. It was like almost too much. But the nights were like, it did not get cool at night, which was both nice because you're out by the fire and you take off your shoes and you're not, but the mosquitoes are brutal. But that is like, I miss that, I think, mostly from growing up like in the US where you have the nice like hot days and nice stay nice and warm. Worst day, like probably one of those days in like April or May where it's like -1 and foggy and drizzly and the wind's blowing at like a solid 40, 50.
Yep.
And it's like, I'm ready for it to be warm. That's like, I hate.
It's those days.
I hate that.
I find it'll be those days you gets up and the weather of Valerie crept into you.
Oh, yeah.
You're not out of the bunk and you can feel it inside you.
Oh,
that
brutal.
Creeping, damp. And like you're looking out and like, especially if it is, or like, and the end of the winter.
Yeah.
Like, how come you just can't be just regular,
I know.
crisp? No, you got to be this wet.
It's just
onslaught.
wet, damp, and that's what the fall was like here. That fall was like
fall was November.
Fall was like spring,
Yep.
and it was like cloudy and foggy and gray for like a month, and like mentally, I find it challenging. But like just keep. Luckily, I've got the kids to kind of keep me busy and everything else, which is great. But I know a lot of folks have issues when the weather's like that for like long periods of time. But that's how it can be on the Avalon. But we went to, my family lives in Florida, so we went down to Florida for U.S. Thanksgiving.
Oh, beautiful.
And what I've learned about Newfoundland is like I can't associate like months with seasons.
Nope.
Right? Like I have to get, unless it's like basically June, July, August, or September, or even October, like I can't equate like May to nice. Or like March, it starts to get warm because March can still be very cold.
Could go either way.
April, we can still get. One of my worst forecast busts ever was in April, and I've seen it snow in June, so it's like I have to kind of put the months and what I expect out of my head, and so we went to we flew to Toronto first before we went down to Florida. We landed in Toronto, and I just was like going through the airport, whatever. Get on the plane, we leave. Generally, when you leave Newfoundland, when it's part of my language, shitty. And you get to Toronto, the weather is generally like at least a little bit nicer.
Yes.
Like I was like, oh, the sun is shining.
The sun.
Yeah, so this is lovely. The sky is still blue. And so we took off from Toronto. I looked out the window and I was like, that grass is so brown for it being spring. I was like, wait, it's November. Right? Like, I was so like turned around because like that weather is normally what we get in like May and in June, not November.
Normally, the onslaught of it, I think, was the biggest part for me.
And like, rain.
My memories of weather are always skewed because I get snapshots. So like I'd say, geez, last summer was deadly. Like it was deadly when you were home.
Yeah.
But that's what I got. But November was that. I was home for the bulk of November. I think I got in on the 5th or out on the end of the month. And it was just day after day. And that's when it gets you. Like you can take 3 or 4 days. That's the weather.
Every day. Every day. Mostly. I think every day like
Isn't that
one.
foolish to say it though?
And when it didn't rain, it flurried. And I got down to my parents and I was like, it rained like for the whole month. They're like, yeah. I was like, no, you don't understand. Like, it rained every day for the entire month.
I was going to say yesterday wasn't a great day either.
No, yesterday was pretty wild.
Yeah, it was a lot. There was a lot of wind.
It was a surge.
Yeah.
Did you guys have a bad surge down here yesterday?
Nah, well, yeah, the sea got hove up in a nice bit. I think a fellow last stage in Bay Bulls were certainly one, if they're not a couple, that was gone. So the surge was noticeable. I wasn't down around the coast a whole lot because we took after St. John's, had a nice little day inside.
Right.
But Saturday night, when you get to northeast, I'm getting wind all the time because I'm up a little bit higher in Witless Bay. Prevailing hits me on the front door. The northeast hits me on my master bedroom wall. I didn't sleep Saturday night because
What's funny is when my wife and I moved into our house in Torbay, it's a 2-story home.
Yep.
The first couple winters, I remember like going to bed and just being kept up by the wind.
Yep.
In the last couple, I almost like soothes me.
Right. Yes.
Which
boy.
is the weirdest
I know,
thing.
yeah.
Right? And then so now I don't hear it anymore like I used to.
Yes, boy.
But the other night, it was Saturday night, the wind was, our house is like north-south, I think. And the wind was side on to the house, which was probably a good thing.
Yep.
And I didn't hear it a whole lot, but when I woke up and the house was vibrating. Like my bed was just vibrating. And what I found interesting about the wind Saturday night is a lot of times the wind is like, now you live right on the coast, it's a bit different.
Yep.
But when you live inland, the wind's not constant. So if you go to the beach like on a day like yesterday, as soon as you walk like basically over like onto the beach, the wind is constant because when you get meteorology, now friction's different. Water has very little friction, so the wind is more constant. When you're inland, trees and the land kind of slow down
disruptions,
a bit, right? But it was just like the wind was constant, like, and I hear the wind pick up, and it was like you'd hear the gusts. The last time I recall hearing that was like Snowmageddon.
Yep.
And it wasn't, it was the wind was constant, and it would gust and come back down, but stayed at like 60, 70 kilometers an hour. And it was like,
it felt like a
wild.
heavy, sustained gust. Because like I heard smacks of wind hit it. And, you know,
more like a hurricane.
And all the deciding to move, everything inflicts.
Right.
But it almost like, okay, when is this gust going to come back down to 100 now? When am I getting out of my 120 league?
It was, the storm came in almost like a hurricane, because it was going basically east of Newfoundland, and it kind of backed in from the east to the west, which is actually very unusual for a storm of that magnitude to kind of come that direction, which is why we had the surge on the southern shore.
Yep.
But the surge was really bad in Bonavista Bay, where the water kind of got trapped.
I had heard that too.
Yeah.
I heard little bits and pieces there between yesterday and today, and now that they had a lot of damage out there as well.
They did. Yeah, Gambo, I think I saw some. Briga South actually had a pretty good surge too. But it was like Gambo declared a state of emergency. I saw some pictures from Glovertown, and I've seen some more, and the surge up there was significant.
Yes, boy.
It was, and the thing is, it wasn't coupled with high tide.
No.
So high tide was high, and it did some damage, but the max surge was not in sync with the high tide. It was a bit off.
Imagine
if
it,
it
like,
was,
so it had the potential to be worse.
It could have been like 3-4 feet worse, probably.
Wow.
Yeah, if it was
That's
high
a lot.
tide. Yeah.
You're dealing with a lot then.
Yeah.
Newfoundland.
Yeah.
Best like and dislike about Newfoundland. So, like you say, you've been here a nice little while now. I'll say you're established there. Anything at all? What stands out, say, for the best thing you likes about Newfoundland? And I won't say the worst thing about it, but the thing that maybe we'd all make a little massage or a change if we could.
There's a number of things I enjoy about Newfoundland.
Yeah, it's hard to nail down one, boys, and it's probably a little poor question to ask.
I think the overall, and we touched on it before. I think like the overall, like just the feeling of like you know, you don't know everybody, and you know you never will, but it feels like a tight knit community. Like once you're kind of in, like you know, you're in now. I'm fortunate that I'm a public figure, and people are generally pretty nice to me.
Yep.
You know, for the most part, unless I get a forecast wrong every now and again. But I think it's just kind of feeling like, you know, it kind of feels like home, which is, it's hard to kind of put that into context. The feeling, I think, of community and just the overall sense of the vibe, I think, of Newfoundland, I really enjoy, right? Like, you know, we all might be doing something different, but, you know, when it comes to, like, there's always something that brings us all together, and it's generally the weather.
Yep.
Right? And so, you know, and I love the weather, so, you know, that's good for me, good for my
goes
career.
hand in hand, yeah.
Right? But, you know, in my mind, like, it's kind of something that ties everybody together. So I think it's just the fact that, like, we can all bitch about the same things.
Yeah.
And we can all be happy about a lot of the same things, but it's all just, you know, feels like a nice, tight community, which, you know, you don't find in a lot of places.
No,
like when you go,
it's definitely the exception, not the norm.
That's exactly. That's kind of what one of my favorite things is about Newfoundland. Dislikes is there's probably a few. Nothing that's going to push me away. It can be hard to travel from here, right? Yep. Like that's probably one of the gripes I think a lot of people have. Is, you know, we only have a few airports. And generally, unless you're going like to Europe more recently, you got to go, you know, to Toronto or Montreal to go wherever you're going to go, and it's a long time to get wherever you're going.
It's a long time.
You know, especially when you're traveling with kids.
Yep.
And then
Oh,
if you throw the weather on top of that, and you know, you can make for some really, really hard.
It's tough
hard
to
times.
plan sometimes, right? And you can have the best laid out plans, whatever you want, but just sometimes.
And that's it. And I know a lot about aviation, so you know, benefit of the doubt. You know, I know generally when things get impacted, it's out of the control of whatever operator.
That's right.
But you know, it's frustrating nonetheless.
100%. I find it like I'm tied to my rotation, so what I'm doing got to be done on that 3 weeks off. That's really going to be it. I enjoy snowmobile on the West Coast, boys. It hasn't been that good over the past few years.
No.
But you got to go when you got to go.
Yeah.
So I came in last year. That was in late January. Snow wouldn't prime.
Right.
Load them up. We're going. And we'll just deal with it when we get over there, right? A week prior to that, it was a big pow bomb over there, and it would have been wicked riding. But, you know, so it's tough to plan that way. You don't have, I find, certainly anyway, like the past little while, you don't have, much like you said, when you get out of the summer, you can't really define your month for your weather.
It's tough. I mean, and when I first moved here, like, you know, first couple winters were very much, you could kind of, were very more traditional.
Yep.
And the last couple have been more
I've seen a shift
uncertain.
the past few years.
And I don't know if that's because of like El Nino, La Nina, or just the variation in whatever's going on in the climate system.
Yep.
I'm not sure.
No,
but this winter's
it's
been
really
very,
tough
very
to nail down,
unusual.
especially because we look at it and, like, to me, it seems like a large sample size, but it's really not.
Right.
I mean, like, I'll look at it and say, boy, past 3 summers were definitely wicked. Like, something's changing there. That could be all part of a cycle, or it could literally be shifting.
We'll see.
Well, again, only time will tell that. I will say I enjoyed my portion of the past 2 summers.
Summers have been wicked.
Buddy,
Right.
I enjoy mountain biking to the fullest. It's probably my favorite activity.
Yeah.
And amount of precipitation we've had through the summer have made it's Hollywood dirt.
Right.
We have good dry spells, no doubt about that, but it's not been the mucky, muddy, sludgy, trundly going through August, like, or June, July, whatever, that it normally had been. I've been doing some of my best riding the past few years.
Once the weather's breaks.
Yep.
Like, and that's the other interesting thing about Newfoundland is, like, especially on the Avalon, you know, Central and the West Coast are a bit different, but like what happens here, and I've seen it every single summer I've been here, the weather just breaks one day, and it goes from like a month of fog, and the wind shifts from east to southwest, and it's like that until September.
Just like a broom came over. Right?
And it's like, okay, summer's here. Like summer had on a Tuesday that year. It's like, there's something to it.
It is, though.
Yeah.
Right? And like, I'll welcome that every year that we can have it, right? I mean, there's a lot to be said about that.
Yeah.
If I got to pay you for it, with a little bit of a dicey winter, well, I think that's a pretty good trade-off.
I know.
We talked about best like and dislike in Newfoundland. Fine enough. But sometimes you do need a trip away from Newfoundland. As nice as it is here, boys, I loves it. But sometimes you just need a break.
Yeah.
You just need a different change of scenery. What's the ideal vacation destination?
Well, the last couple of years, it's been Florida, and we're going on a cruise.
Oh, beauty.
So, yeah, my entire immediate family was all living between, like, basically, like, New Jersey and eastern Pennsylvania.
Yep.
They all moved down to South Florida.
Oh, yeah.
So now, if it's like, I want to get away, it's a bit of a longer trip, but, you know, it's, once the airfare's covered,
Time you get...
can hang out in Florida.
Like you say, into that eastern seaboard, I suppose there's not that much more to be travel-wise.
It's like when they lived down in Pennsylvania, it was like, you know, I fly here to Montreal, Toronto, then down to Newark, so it was a bit of a shorter travel day. So it's like, you know, 3 hours here, 3 hours down in Florida, but like, you know, like a couple hours.
That's right.
It doesn't really bother me too
for
much.
the sake of you're going away for a while, right?
But that's pretty much it right now. You know, with the kids and stuff, they love going down to Florida, and they like swimming, and you know, they like being warm. And so when we're doing a family trip, that's what we're doing.
That's wicked.
So or a cruise, which has also been something I didn't think I'd like.
It's a good, like you say, to just be able to get away.
Yeah.
Right, and change the scenery, especially like you say, it gets into these the hairy months, we'll call them.
Yeah. Well, I like to go. Like last year, I think 2 years ago we went. I think it was at the end of March, the last 2 weeks of March. I think we came back like early April.
Yep.
And I was just too early.
Yep.
Because we came back in April. And
you're coming back to
it was bad. And last year I think we went like it was I think late April, early May, and it was much. We came back and the weather was still bad, but it was bad for a lot less. We go camping a lot of like May 2-4s, and it's like, you know, it's snowing or it's 5 or 6 degrees, and it's
almost want an insulated tent out with you, right?
Yeah.
Like,
and I like to do more exploring, but I think for once the kids are a bit older, we can.
That's right. That'd been my plan. Like we got to Ireland just because I was working over there.
Right.
So we made a trip out of it. As somewhere I always wanted to go was one of them things. Oh yeah, we'll go one of these years. And you never do it. But I was there, so we went and done it. And I'm so like I'm disappointed in myself that I waited so long to do that.
Right.
But that's another plan in place now when Isla gets a little bit older that she can remember. I can't wait to go over with her.
Right.
And let her experience that like I did experience it.
She'll love it.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
So I'd say we'll have a trip or two to Disney and in between of that.
Disney.
Yeah. No. Have you been yet?
Disney's great.
Oh, you've been to Disney. I've not been to Disney, boys.
We're fortunate enough that we can, we've gone, and
Yes.
we took the girls a couple of years ago, and they were a bit young, and I think we're going to take them down. I think this spring.
Yep.
My wife and my mother-in-law, and I think my girls love Disney World.
That seems to be a common trade.
I don't share that same. I don't share that same affection
I've never
towards
been
it.
to the States. I flew over the States a lot, but never ever been.
Man,
I don't know.
it's like Canada, except it's a different currency.
Yep.
And generally, there's more guns.
Especially
Especially Florida.
Again, seems big on Florida. Yeah,
But
seems a big state for that. but-
it's funny because that's another thing that people are like, what's U.S. like? And to me, North America as a whole, like Canada as a whole, and the United States as a whole, are not dissimilar. Like the currency is different, the culture is certainly a little different.
Yep.
But beyond that, and the joke about guns was a joke.
Yeah.
But beyond that, everything is pretty well identical. Like supply chains, grocery stores, drugstores, it's all like identical. Just everything has different names.
Yes.
So if you go down there, other than driving, which is miles per hour, and instead of kilometers per hour, everything is pretty well. It's just generally busier.
I do a lot better than I did when I got, because I got out of Dublin Airport and
Yeah.
I was driving on the wrong side of the road.
Yeah.
Oh, Lord.
I would have trouble with that.
I was a couple of months.
Yeah.
Well, I asked people on TikTok, I said, what should I do? Because I fully intended on going around in the bus
Yeah.
and going to Cork City and going up to Cliffs of Moher and the tourism bus or whatever. They said, drive if you can.
Right.
And I looked, Jesse had no interest in driving. And I said, boy, if we're going to see what we want to see and go on our own timeline, I said, we drive. I said, boy, there's lots of other fellas I wouldn't trust with a hammer that I said went over there and drove
Yeah.
around, never got in an accident. I said, I think I should be okay.
Figure it out.
Oh, yeah. And
Yeah.
within the first, 6, on the way down to Wexford. After that, I was
Yeah.
all right. Now, put me in Cork City in the middle of the evening. That was on a midway through the week. Oh, she's tight, yeah. And then the GPS telling you, go across this bridge. And we looked at the bridge. It was a footbridge.
It's like,
So,
can't
no,
do
it's
that? Yeah.
going around recalculating. Oh, Lord. Here we are now. But, it was
Yeah.
definitely worth it. But so, yeah, if I could master that over in Ireland, or not master it, I shouldn't say that. If I could do it over in Ireland, I'm sure I'd be all right to roam around in the States.
Yeah, she'll be all right.
Yeah. Someday I'll get
Yeah.
down there. So, we're getting to the end of it here now. The Outhouse Boys. I want to touch on too with that. I see you after doing a little bit of media with the boys. I know there's a few of the boys from years ago. Love the boys.
Yeah.
Love the content that the boys does. Always did have a grand laugh at it and are doing quite well with it. But like you say, I see you're interfacing with them on a bit of that. How do you find that?
Oh, it's ball.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
The
a lot
boys
of
are a
fun.
grand laugh.
Yeah. They're a lot of fun to work with. The last one I did with it was basically myself and Mike.
Yep.
And Mike was playing Cecil, and it's hard not to laugh. When he's a character.
And
And he sells it too. Like when he's Cecil, he's like he's
there.
He's like an old Newfoundlander.
And
Right.
and I find the way with Mike too, he'll feed off you.
Oh, yeah.
Because I scatter time he'll be there and he'll switch over in a character or
Yeah.
it'll be onto a bit or something like that. And you'll be laughing and it almost like he's hitting you with laughs.
He's
like,
quick.
Oh,
He's
he
quick
is quick.
and he loves the spotlight, but he's also very creative.
Super
Like, he's
great.
like-
I wonder
yeah.
sort of, some of the stuff he comes up with, and it's even on the fly, just talking
Right.
to him. By how? Because I wouldn't see it from that angle, right?
He sees it, and so does Justin Hocko.
Yep.
He writes most of that stuff. Him, Mike, I think write a lot of it. Brilliant too.
Yep.
And what's the other? Troy.
I always
is
call
it-
him Troy Buckle
is it
too.
Troy? Yeah,
I was about a half hour there last week trying to figure out his name.
I
Still
forget.
couldn't come up with it. Jessica found him on Facebook because me and him apparently are
Yeah.
Facebook friends.
It's I'm sorry, buddy.
No, I'm
'cause I
blanking now
know
too.
it. But and when I did the Between Two Boys, I couldn't keep it together. Because I'm talking to him like I'm talking to you, and then he goes right into character, and he's like, I'm just laughing my ass
Yep.
off. But it's a ball. It's a ball doing this stuff with them. And
The boys really have a nice little segment in what they're doing there.
They do.
It's hard really to put your thumb on it, but whatever about it, it just works.
Yeah.
It just works. The relatability of it in, say, just what Newfoundland is.
It's close to pop culture. Is like they're you're
exactly. And couple that with the quick wit and just their takes on it. It's a gem, boy.
Yeah.
It really is a gem. But it's always fun to see them interface with other people around Newfoundland as well. No doubt they got their own thing going on. But just when you see other people that you're familiar with jumping in onto it,
It's a ball.
it just brings it all together for you, right? Because
It's fun.
that is Newfoundland.
It's
right?
something
Like,
very different. So like when I've done a couple of things with them, like it's legitimately like we're acting. I'm not very good at it, but it's fun, right? And you're doing these skits and you're trying to like kind of play off them a little bit and trying to pick up a little bit of I guess their humor and then kind of get back to them a little bit, but also not be super like stiff and rigid, which as you kind of like do these skits with them and the more takes you get, the more comfortable you get and the more you're less like stiff and rigid and more
you're there with the boys
to improv a little bit. Yeah, right. So it's a lot of fun.
It comes out very well.
Yeah.
I must say the work that I've seen you do with them, and certainly the boys on their own. Boy, it is a good laugh, and so many people can relate to it. Like
the Christmas one, Justin's like, I'm thinking about this idea where you do something with Cecil, like, and you got to sing. What do you think? And I was like, well, like I can't sing very well, but like I'll do it.
Yep.
Like I don't care. And
whatever works.
Came out well,
right?
Yeah.
And it come together wicked, right? Because that's part of it too, right? Like, and it just fits.
No, they're clever, very very clever.
They are, but anyway, shout out to the boys. I'm sure it'll be.
I gotta get Troy's name here. I gotta know.
I know. I done the same thing there the other day. Marcus Rose.
Marcus, that's it. Yeah. Marcus, that's it.
Just come to me like that,
yes.
See? But I was
afraid to say, Marcus.
It's couldn't come up. I like because I see some and I picture some in my head and all I think is Troy Buckle.
Yeah.
Now that's a good character, boys. If you erase as your actual name and people just refers to you as the character that you play,
Troy.
You're doing a pretty good job.
But he was when we did the Between Two Boys thing. It was very funny.
All down to earth fellas, too.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Like,
good fellas.
Really good fellas to have around and have laugh with. That about wraps it up. Usually, the last question I always ask people: the future for you. What do you see down the road for Eddie? Now it's different for everyone, especially because I've had a good few content creators on and stuff like that. It's all about growing and the brand and whatever else. But yourself, you're established there.
Just keep
on keeping on
and see what 2025 brings.
I tell you, the biggest thing, if you can say just keep on enjoying what life is giving out, well, boy, you're set up pretty good then. You know, if that's the plan. Hey, boy.
No, I'm pretty happy. I think 2025 is gonna be a little different, but should be.
Keep on trucking. Hope for a decent bit of weather.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna prime for a forecast, boys. But I am gonna say I am traveling offshore tomorrow.
Yeah.
What does the wind look like at height?
Shouldn't be too bad actually. Well, it'll be a little bumpy probably once you get out of head east.
I was looking for freezing rain.
Freezing rain. Freezing drizzle.
That's the scene. I always jokes about that, and I'm joking about the past week. I come in on the 17th, so my relief's been out there since 17th. So I'll always take another night home wherever I can, when I can, how I can. But them fellas been out there all of Christmas, the lead up to Christmas and New Year's. The shift I got off, I calls it the Hollywood shift of Christmas because you get the lead up and you get the whole holidays. Right. And you get a little bit of decompression time after the holidays to kind of... we're getting back to normal.
Get your bearings back with you.
That's right. So, but they're on the flip side. I've been there for it. That sucks.
Right.
So when it's time to come home after 21 days, it's time to come home anyway. Especially this time of year.
Yeah.
I did check the forecast, or I did check the choppers a little bit earlier. Nothing's flying. So I'd imagine sea states are still up.
Sea states are still up actually. Yeah. So the low should migrate westward, but it's not going anywhere fast. So it still might be. And there's another storm coming up actually behind it. So you might not be going.
Boys.
Yeah. You might not be going tomorrow, actually.
Anyway, boy, that's really it. Eddie, thank you for coming up.
No problem.
And being episode and boys, the Harbour Yarn. Still in its infancy, no doubt. I think you're the third guest I've had on. I do appreciate us the drive up and all that, and you took time out of your day.
No problem.
Life is busy. Daddy Yarn, boy, I must say.
It was, yeah.
All right, boys. Hopefully you did enjoy that yarn there with myself and whoever I had on for a guest, because at this point when I'm recording it, I don't know who I had on. But hopefully whoever it was, you did enjoy it. Boys, rolling into the next segment of this Harbour Yarn podcast, episode 5. The VOCM topic of this week, boys, that I did pick out. I had a little scan through VOCM there yesterday, and it was that we're going to have a green Christmas for the bulk of the island. Now, that might have been a little bit preemptive, VOCM, because as I'm looking at it here on Christmas Eve, the West Coast got a good smack of snow. Honest enough that I might get a trip over before I heads back to work early in January. You never know. I thought I pretty well had it rolled off looking at it leading up into the early part of December because they were having a lot of warm temperatures, but boy, they're having a good little kick-off now. If they can keep some freezing temperatures on the go, I might be lucky enough to get a trip over. But even here on the East Coast, boys, we got a little bit of flurry activity on the go, enough that it did make the ground white. Not enough for any bit of usable snow, and when the sun came out today, half it did melt, but there's still a little bit of white down on the ground, so I wouldn't call it a real green Christmas, but it's not the nice full snow Christmas that you would hope for. I always did enjoy that growing up. The snow, when it's down on the ground, laden down on the trees, boys, it just fits the bill for this time of the season. For me, I have the old C9 incandescent bulbs up on the eave of the house, boys, and when the snow settles down on them and a nice glow off them lights, boy, bring a tear to a glass eye, I think, because it is very nice. Now, boys, to this point, I'm after talking about C9 incandescent bulbs enough that I could probably be a jump-in spokesperson for Newfoundland Labrador Light and Power for how fast the old meter be spinning around on the house when those suckers be on. But it is a little bit of nostalgia for me, so I'll keep putting them up. You can have your nice Govey lights, and I will say they do look nice, but they don't quite hit you in the heart so nice as the old C9 incandescent. And boys, talking about that, it seems like the weather has certainly shifted from when I was growing up till now. I mean, normally we'd start getting snow in December month here on the East Coast of Newfoundland, and it'd kind of, you'd have a decent January and February. March was up and down, and before you hit into spring. Now it's more so, if you're getting snow at all, it's in the latter part of January, February month. If you're getting any snow, that'll actually stay down, stick around. And I'm finding a lot of times that it do come in, the systems comes up, you'll get snow in on the front end of them, they'll swing around, and you'll end off with rain and a warm temperature. It'll warm for 12 to 24 hours, and then end up freezing. So it ends up creating quite a state. It didn't seem like it was like that when I was younger, and perhaps that's only my mind dressing up days gone by, but certainly the weather seems like it's after shifted a little bit. For whatever reason, Tal, I don't know, it might be all a cycle, or it might be the actual weather pattern has changed, but certainly I have seen it changed. I mean, I can remember going to school, and me and my buddy, we was heavy into the snowboarding then. We said on the shortest day of the year, we tried to snowboard from the time the sun came up till the sun came down, and we had enough snow to be able to do that many years on the 21st of December. Now, if you was out on your snowboard on the 21st of December, certainly here on the East Coast, you wouldn't have much of a snowboard lift because the rocks would have gone to pieces, unless you was up in the meadow going back and forth on the grass. But certainly in that memory alone, it has changed from then till now. Now, boys, at any rate, there is a little bit of snow down for all ye crowd. If you're over on the West Coast watching, you're definitely having a white Christmas there from what I can see on the media coming over, because you're flat out on skidoos. And certainly if you're watching anywhere at all, you might be somewhere that don't get snow at all. I'm only thinking about Newfoundland, Labrador here. Certainly if you're anywhere at all, you might have mountains of snow, or you might be enjoying the sunny beaches of California. I don't know where you're watching in from, but certainly wherever you're watching in from, I do hope, whether it be a white Christmas or a green Christmas, you're having a dandy Christmas or a dandy set of holidays for yourself, and you're keeping yourself well. Boys, that'll do it for the VOCM topic for this podcast. And that brings us to a close, boys. I always do say, boys, if you made it this far, I do thank you. There's no doubt I enjoy putting all this together and sitting down recording it all, but there's a little bit of work on the back end that goes with it and all. So if you actually stayed interested enough to watch to this point, I do thank you, boys. I do appreciate it. Boys, check out the socials like I mentioned earlier. If you'd like to keep following along with all of my foolishness, I'm on TikTok mostly, but everything gets cross-posted to Instagram, so you can follow the day-to-day foolishness on both of them accounts. This podcast is living on YouTube, like I did say earlier as well, and you can listen to it on Spotify if you're someone who likes to listen to it while you're driving. And boys, like I did bring up earlier, if you're looking for a hat, send me an old DM. They are hot ticket items the past 24 hours. There's no mistake about that. Now, boys, I did mention it on the end of the VOCM topic there, but I will say it again, boys. We're well past the holidays now, but hopefully you had a good set of holidays for yourself. The holidays can be a hard time of year for some people. There's no mistake about that, but hopefully they treated you well. Myself, we're only just getting started here now because this is Christmas Eve, so I'm hoping to have a good Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, and the rest of the old shagged up days of Christmas for myself. But boys, wherever you're at and wherever you're to, I hope they treated you well, and I hope you're still doing well now going into the new year. Boys, like VOCM do say, arrive alive, boys. VOCM cares. Take care of yourself.